All right, I'm gonna go live. Um, just because I don't have enough um space on my computer to save the videos, which would be easier because then I could edit it. So this is gonna be rough or a raw version, and I really don't have anything written down, so it's kind of just coming from my heart. I have not seen the movie Unplanned yet. However, I am going. Um, but I did want to share my experience with Planned Parenthood, abortion, and about what it does to people. It started, well, I'll just start like this. Okay. I was not raised in a home that was particularly um, of any religious um, like, I mean, we didn't go to church, or I mean, we might have said we were Christians just because, I mean, if you live in America, I mean, people just think they're Christian because, I mean, that's what you say around here, but especially in the South. But I had no concept of who God really was, except I had had experiences with Him several times in my life. Um, from the time I was like 3, well, almost 3. Um, but anyway, that's another story, and that testimony is actually on my Facebook page. So, I mean, not my Facebook page, my YouTube page. So, excuse me. Actually, if you haven't already, um, please push the like button and subscribe. Um, I am trying to come on here and do more videos. I feel like this one is just kind of like timely for right now. And I have given my testimony multiple times, and probably I know I have in the past on other videos, but this is just basically to explain the truth about what goes on behind the doors from the perspective of the teen girl. I was 15, basically, almost. When I had the abortion. It was like a week before my 15th birthday. But um, I started dating way too young, and I was like 14, um, and just turned 14 actually. And we dated for a good while, and I was kind of goody goody actually. I never even kissed a boy until I was like the summer before my ninth grade year. And like I always like I used to want to be a nun, like because I wanted to be married to God. It's a very strange child in my house, especially considering my father was an alcoholic and he ran around with my mom all the time. And my mom, bless her heart, she was very devoted to him. They got married when my mom was 17 and my dad was 19 because she got pregnant with me. Um, they didn't tell me that. I just found that out on my own. Whenever I got old enough to count past 10, wasn't hard to figure out. But anyway, I don't want to like jump back and forth all over the place. But I don't have notes that I wrote down because I just kind of did this spontaneously because I just felt the need to put this out because there's all kind of different stories, that people go through, and I just want to share mine because people call this thing a choice, but some people don't have a choice. And unfortunately, um, for teens who live at home, a lot of times it is not their choice, and their parents make that decision for them, which was what happened in my case. Um, and I'm not blaming them. Of course, I did as a teenager after it was over with. I blamed them and rebelled and, you know, caused a lot of trouble probably, and went through a really hard time and a hard period in my life after that. I was just wrecked after that. But I'm trying to think where to start, really. Where is the best place to start? Okay. Well, my mom had me in pageants and modeling and dance, and she spent quite a bit of money on that. And we went and did that every single weekend. And I enjoyed it. I'm not saying that I didn't have fun or anything, but I mean, she was like really serious about it. And so I had this boyfriend, and he was really my first boyfriend. And like, I really thought I loved him. I was in the ninth grade, and when we started going out, and he was in the 11th grade. And um, personally, I think I was way too young to go out. I don't think a 14-year-old or a girl that just turns 14 and a boy of 16 really have anything that they should be hanging out doing alone. But that is what happened. So um I wasn't on any birth control or anything like that because nobody had ever talked to me about that. Um and I was in the fashion business or the fashion industry and modeled and things like that. And like, I don't know, just the morals are different, like, than people raised in church. Like, I've raised my children in church, and I definitely put a different set of boundaries and morals on them than I was raised with. My father was a Freemason, and my whole family comes from Freemasonry. Um, in fact, that is my maiden name, and um, my whole family was involved in that, and Eastern Star. So I don't know. Our household just had a very different set of boundaries that were a little upside down, it seemed. Anyway, so my mom knows I'm going, she's dropping me off at my boyfriend's house in the summertime when school's not in. And his mom's a nurse, and his dad sits in the other room all the time, you know. Now, mind you, this is back in like 85, okay? Because I'm almost 49 now, and so that's how long ago this was. Um, and I really did think I loved this guy. And looking back, I mean, for my age, I guess you know, I did. And he talked me into it over and over, and I told him no 100 times, you know, but finally, you know, if you love me, if this, that, and the other, and so I gave in. And it was kind of something I was really kind of just like my friends had all pretty much done that. And so I kind of felt like, okay, well, I just didn't want to give it away to anybody, you know, so I felt like at least it was somebody that I thought I loved. And it wasn't like just, you know, some random person or anything. Um, so like the very first time that we did anything, it was the beginning of June, and like by the end of August, I realized that, whoa, I'm not having my period, but I kept having these like cramps, like I was fixing to start my period, like before you actually have it. So I thought I was going to start. So I just kept thinking I was off. That I was just irregular and I had horrible, horrible cramps because I had endometriosis. So I had really bad cramps and it kind of felt like that. So and at that age, it just doesn't register with you. You don't understand. I didn't understand about like how to calculate when you're fertile or when you're not fertile or anything like that. But anyway, um, so I wasn't old enough to drive yet where we live at that time, and a friend of mine and I cut school, and she took me to the local Planned Parenthood office. That's the only place we need to go. Excuse me. That's because that's what the school pushed. If you get in trouble, if you get pregnant, you go to Planned Parenthood. You don't have to have your parents' permission, where you do anywhere else. I mean, you can't go to the hospital or the doctor without your parents' permission at that age. So you go to Planned Parenthood, okay? So, I mean, if I wasn't pregnant, I certainly didn't want them to think or to know what I had done and had a reason to think I was pregnant because it may not be so. And at that age, you put it out your mind like it can't happen to you. So, especially just the first time. So, um, I will try to, let's see, put this together because I really don't want to break down and cry because, like, I've cried enough over the last month or couple months with all the stuff going on. And this has been a very emotional time for me. And I'm sure very many other women also, even though I've been healed and forgiven, it still affects you. When you have an abortion, it affects the rest of your life. And there's no way around that. I mean, if you have a heart and a conscience. But so my friend and I cut school. We went to Planned Parenthood, and I went back there, and they asked me um, to go pee in a cup, which I did, and then they sat me in this like little room with these cold stools, and like it had other girls like in one room, but it had these screens that you pull kind of like in a hospital that shut you off or close you off from the person next to you, where supposedly it's private, but I mean, I could hear what was going on in their room, so I imagine. But I mean, that didn't matter at that time because when you hear you're pregnant at that age, all you can think about is, oh my God, what are my parents going to say? So, and my mom was a little bit strict. And then I didn't want to disappoint my dad because even though my dad drank and he did some stuff, he was a good dad to me. And like, I didn't want to hurt him. And that was what I was afraid of. I was just going to be like, I was just going to disappoint him, from and my grandmother, who I loved very, very much. And she was kind of like my mom. Um, so anyway, um, sorry, my mouth is really dry because I have to take blood pressure medicine. And it makes me tired. So if I look tired or whatever, I had to take my blood pressure medicine. So anyway, I'm gonna try to make this short. Okay. Um, went to Planned Parenthood. She came back. The test was positive. I can remember exactly what she looks like. She had on scrubs. She was a chubby lady. Um, and she just sat there on the stool and held that test and said, "Okay, when do you want to schedule to come back to have your abortion?" I mean, it was just like nothing like, hey, this is how far along you are. I mean, she did figure out how far along I was, and she told me that much, but she was like, you need to hurry and make a decision, and we can go ahead and set you up today for an appointment to come in. And like, I was like, I'm not going to have an abortion. And she was like, you're way too young to have a baby. And I was like, well, I mean, I agree, that's true, but there's other options. And the first thing in my mind, honestly, was adoption. And I really thought my mom might want to adopt the baby because, um, like, I was an only child for 9 years, and they actually put in for adoption already, and they almost received the baby. And my mom found out she was pregnant a month before that happened. So I have a little brother, but he's like almost 9 years younger than me. And at this time, I mean, I was only, like I said, 14 going on 15, right at 15. So it's not like, I mean, she was still in her 30s, you know what I'm saying? So she would have been plenty young enough. I was just thinking she wanted more than one or two kids, you know? So I thought maybe she would, want to have the baby, or, I mean, to raise the baby maybe yourself. And if not, that was fine because that's not their responsibility or anything. I mean, I would have definitely done a private adoption, but I did have a friend who got pregnant, um, and she had a baby, and she gave it up for adoption, and her mom like begged and begged and begged her to keep the baby, that she would help raise it until she could get out of high school. And if she wanted her, to give it back, when she, graduated college or whatever, or, that she would help her, that she would keep the baby, that she would adopt the baby. And my friend just would not do that. She just refused to let her mom do that. And I guess it's just the teenage age because we're on our fourth teenager now. And well, so um, so we leave out of there, and I do not, make any kind of appointment to come back or anything. Um, and I really didn't say anything to anybody except for my friend Cheryl that was with me. Of course, she knew because she was in the room with me, but um, and then my boyfriend, I had to tell him, and it was like really weighing on me. And like I went, I don't remember exactly how long I went, knowing that and not telling my parents. I can't remember because, a few details like that aren't really major. I mean, it's hard to place on the timeline. So, finally one night it was just weighing on me so hard. Like I was starting to feel morning sickness, and I was just kind of like not feeling like myself. I was really tired, and I had mono like the year before, and I felt kind of like I had mono again. And at first, honestly, I thought maybe that's what it could have been because I was so tired and felt sick. And so trying to think how it happened. After I told my boyfriend, he was like, what are you thinking?" And I told him what I thought, and he was like, "Yeah, I don't think that we're old enough to have a baby and this, that, and the other." And so he was kind of in agreement with that, with the adoption thing. I mean, he seemed to be okay with it. And then, but the night that I went in there and told my parents, I waited until they were in bed. And like I had been talking to this baby in my belly, for however long I had known by this time, maybe a week or two. Knowing what I know now, I might not would have told him until I was showing, but I really thought my mom would want the baby. So anyway, one night I just went in the room and I just kind of stood at their dresser while they were in the bed, and I said, "I have to tell y'all something." And my mom goes, "You're pregnant, aren't you?" And I just looked at the floor and I went, "Yes, I am." And then she goes, and excuse my language, I'm just going to say exactly what she said, but she said, "Damn it, Denny," which was my father's name. She said, "I told you." So That's the shame that comes. And so I went back. She goes, just go to your room. Just go to your room. I just can't. I got to talk to your father. I can't even think about this right now. So I went back to my room. I was laying on my bed crying, and I was promising that baby that I would protect it, and that I would find it a good family, and that everything would be okay. Just, I was trying to talk to somebody that I could find comfort in. And then I called my boyfriend, told him what was going on, and he was kind of in agreement with the abortion, and that kind of devastated me, honestly, because I felt like he didn't have my side or my back. He wasn't like looking out. So I completely felt like ganged up against by everybody. And I kept telling them I was not going to have an abortion, that I did not want an abortion. I did not believe in abortion, and that I would be willing to go to an aunt's house that I had, which is across the country, the whole entire country. I live on the East Coast. She lived in California on the West Coast in San Diego. So actually, I mean, my word, if I would have gone out there for just a few months and had the baby, found a good couple around San Diego to adopt the baby, it would have had a chance. And somebody that really, really wanted a baby could have had a baby and not had to pay $50,000 or wait 10 years until they're too old to want a baby. So I was just like, just so shocked and hurt that they wanted to kill it, that they wanted to kill my baby. And like, I didn't know what to do. Like, literally, the only other person that I went to talk to about things like that was my grandmother, which was my mother's mother. And she wasn't very healthy. And honestly, I was so ashamed. I didn't want her to know. And, I mean, I knew she'd have to find out, but I didn't want to be the one to tell her. So I hadn't told her yet. And, so I just kept saying, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it, that kind of thing. And they're like, what are you going to do with the baby? What are you going to do with the baby? You can't raise a baby. You're still in school, this, that, and the other. And I was like, if y'all don't want it, then I'm going to give it up for adoption to a couple that would want it. And, so finally, like, we had one night we cooked out, and my dad and I were very close. Like I said, I was a daddy's girl. And he took me outside and sat by the pool, and I just remember just sitting there in that hard, well, those old chairs that are like you fold up, and they have the crisscross things that are kind of like nylon or whatever in the 80s. And we pulled those out by the pool, and the pool light was on because it was starting to get dark. We were just sitting out there, and he was just saying, like, sharing, you know, if your grandmother finds out about this, it could kill her. Like, she's not well, she's not doing good, and literally it could, like, really give her, like, a heart attack. It could cause her to have, a health problem, or, it could cause her death, or I mean, it was just, like, mind manipulation. Like, looking back on it, I didn't see that at the time, but, I mean, looking back on that, that was definitely manipulation, and I'm sure that my mom was behind a lot of that because, I think, she was afraid. I mean, I think she really meant her best for me. I think she thought she was doing what was right for me because she didn't know any better. I mean, she was so young, and she had me, and she had been, and she was married. She married the guy, my father, and he was just unfaithful from the time that she was pregnant and married, and until, I hate to say that, until she passed away, um, 13 years ago. So, um, anyway, So my mom got my dad to talk to me, and he just kept on and on and on. And I was asking him about going to my Aunt Virginia's house in California. And then I have family up in Virginia, which would have been even easier. I mean, I could have gone up to Virginia and stayed with, um, my family there. I know they would have let me come. I know they would have let me come there. And they would have probably even adopted the baby. They adopted a baby already. Looking back on all this, but I was just so young and stupid. And I take full listen, I'm not like blaming my parents. Like, I'm not trying to shift the blame on anybody because I should not have been having sex at that age, first of all. I had no business doing that. And especially unprotected. That is insane. So don't think I'm trying to like throw my mom under the bus or my dad under the bus, even though what they did was wrong. I mean, it was wrong. They should not have manipulated me. They should have let me, you know, um, give the baby up for adoption if they didn't care to keep it. But I mean, I feel like that was their grandchild. If I was going to give it up for adoption, that they would be the first ones to get the option. I mean, I have 6 grandchildren now, and I can tell you right now that one of them was going to have an abortion, and I told her, "Please don't do it." And I wasn't even sure at the time if that was my grandchild or not because my son and her were not married. But I told her, I said, "Listen, if you have this baby, even if it's not my grandson, I will adopt." So she agreed to that. And then when the baby was born, of course, everything changed because she loves the baby. And then the other grandmother loved the baby, even though she, at the time, I think, was more pro abortion. Um, you know, um, thank God that, that Michael's alive. He's in first grade this year. And I don't get to see him as much as I would like, but he's alive and he's doing good and he's such a smart, smart boy. And he's in some of my videos on here if you look. He is the one that was praying in one of the other videos at McDonald's. But getting back on the story, um so my mom calls and makes an appointment with her OBGYN, which delivered me. He actually was the doctor that brought me into the world. And so I told her what Planned Parenthood had told me. And I think that's when she was taken back because I was telling her because she asked me how I knew I was pregnant. And I told her, I said, well, Cheryl took me to Planned Parenthood and they gave me a pregnancy test and they told me how far along I was and yada yada yada. So she was like, well, I'm gonna call Dr. Sally and then in the morning we'll go to the doctor and I'm gonna see how far along you are and we'll talk to him about the abortion. So she called there the next day, and I can't remember. I mean, if I got an appointment the next day or the day after, whatever. It was within a day or two, and I remember going back there and them examining me, and they did an ultrasound. I'm pretty sure, and but they kept it down. I didn't hear any heartbeat because they turned that down. They didn't want me to hear it. Yeah. Now, Planned Parenthood did not do an ultrasound because I did not sign up to do any kind of procedure there, so they did not give me an ultrasound. But now, the doctor's office did. But like I said, they turned the monitor away. They wouldn't let me hear anything, and I really didn't know what they were doing anyway. And so he took me into his office. Dr. Sally took me into his office, and he said, "Okay, Sharon, well, you are pregnant." And I was like, "I know that." And he was like, and he told me that I was like 11 weeks, I think, at that time. Um, because I had the abortion at 12 weeks. So, I think this was about a week before. But he said, um, Well, he said, your mom is pretty set on you having an abortion, and it's not what you think. And I said, I'm not having an abortion. I'm not doing it. I, I told my mom I wasn't doing that. And he was like, well, Sharon, you're too young to have a baby. And what are you going to do? How are you going to raise it? How are you going to finish school? How are you going to do this? And I was like, well, I'm not saying that I expect my parents to like raise a baby that they did not plan on or make. However, there are a lot of people out there that want to adopt. I knew this even at a young age because I had seen people that we were friends with that adopted and that waited like years and years and years for adopting, and it cost them a lot of money, a lot of money. So, oh, I look so dead in my face. My lips are like, I need some vitamins, I think. Anyway, I'm just gonna rest here, y'all, and just talk to you out of my heart because it's the only thing I know to do with this subject is just tell you from my heart and my experience. Um, so, um, the doctor and I were sitting in the room, and he told me I was too young to have a baby, and that if I had a baby, that it could kill me, that my body was not fully formed, and the baby could die. I could die anyway. He told me that it was just a clump of cells, that it was not life yet. He told me that um, it would ruin my life. And now, understand, now this is not Planned Parenthood. This is a private doctor's office that takes private insurance, and it's a very upscale doctor's office, and it is um, still around, but they don't do abortions anymore. Praise the Lord. But so the man that brought me into this world, um, he was sitting at a desk right beside me and looking at me and lying right to my face. And the funny thing is, even though I wasn't a Christian, I knew about Jesus, and I had a lot of dreams about him. And my grandmother on my mom's side was a Christian, and she didn't go to church a lot. I think I went like twice with her, maybe when I was really young, 2 or 3 times that I can remember. So I knew who Jesus was, but I just didn't have a relationship with him. I didn't really know who he was or anything like that. I didn't live like that. I didn't live that kind of lifestyle. Um, but anyway, so that day at the doctor's office, and I was back there talking to the doctor, and then he was telling me about how I could die, my baby could die, or both of us would die. And then I said, well, let me ask you a question. I said, why did then God pick a girl about my age, basically, to carry the Savior? I was like, Mary was about, we don't know, but she was anywhere from 13 to 16. And I said, and people back then, history was like my favorite lesson. And so, like, I even took it as electives. So I was like, I know for a fact that women got married in 13 and 14 years old back a long time ago. And they were Loretta Lynn is a good example, in poor areas or areas, even big areas. Jewish families, Catholic families, especially Catholics, because they don't even believe in birth control at all. So they have large families usually if they follow their faith. Um, and then, if you're truly a believer of Christ, you do trust the Lord with your fertility. You believe that, like, He's the giver and the taker of life, and that if He wants you to have 5 kids, you'll have 5 kids, and He will make a way for you to help take care of them. So, if you're His child, you know. So, um, that does not apply to people that are not, living for the Lord, or they're not, you know, um, his child. Because just like, I don't necessarily always go down the street and buy food for the children down the street because they're not my children, but I make sure that every night my child is fed. It's the same way with our Heavenly Father, because some people choose him and some people do not choose him. So there are, we're not all children of God, let's put it that way. I know that's a universalist term, and in theory we are, because he made us all in his image, but some people just refuse to accept him, and those people are damned, and we have to pray for their souls, but and pray that they wake up before it's too late, but we can't always do that, so we just have to go along with it. But anyway, back to the story. So the doctor told me, and this man is old, he's not even a young fella, um, telling me all these lies, telling me I could die, the baby could die, we could both die. It was just a blob of tissue. It's not even a baby yet. That I had too much potential and I should not throw my life away. This, that, and the other. So I was just like, well, I said, I'm not doing it. I'm just telling you, I'm not doing it. And he said, well, you just need to go out there and you need to settle that with your mother because she's pretty set on it. So anyway, I go back out and I talk to my mom, and all the way home, I'm like, Mom, I don't want to do that. I just don't want to do that. Well, and I'm not going to lie about it. I mean, well, first, I didn't want to kill a baby, and that's true. The second part is, like, I mean, I was just thinking about the things that they had to do to probably get the baby out. I was like, I mean, I don't know about abortion, and back then we didn't have YouTube or um, Wi-Fi or cable. We had cable TV, but I mean, you know what I'm saying. We didn't have any ability except for to look things up in the encyclopedia or go to the library or things like that. And you couldn't always get the most accurate information sometimes. And certainly, Planned Parenthood is not going to tell you the correct information. So I was just like, I mean, I didn't know what to do. I didn't have a church we belonged to. So really, like, I had zero people to go to. I had nobody to go to. Nobody. Like, after my parents, like, kind of like betrayed me, and my boyfriend betrayed me, I kind of felt so let down. And honestly, that made me feel more honestly like protecting this baby because I felt like I was the only one that wanted it, and that I had made a promise to it that I would protect it, and that it would be okay. And I was failing miserably on that promise. Um, but I mean, looking back on all this, I was just so young. I was just really too young. So anyway, I just remember sitting up like all night long, just about that night with my mom until late. Well, it was late at night. We just talked and talked and talked. Finally, she was like, Sharon, you're having an abortion. And I've already set up the appointment. I think this was like a Thursday because the appointment was the next day after we were having this conversation. And because I was already at that 12-week mark, they had to give me something called a cervical dilator. And I had to go the next day and have it put in over the weekend so that it would dilate my cervix over the weekend so they could do the abortion. And I guess if I'm thankful for anything, is that my mom did take me to a private doctor and not Planned Parenthood because they did. Um, the doctor did make sure that he saved my fertility. I have to say that. But so it was just like I didn't have a choice because my mom was like, if you keep that baby, you're not coming back here to this house. I know she didn't mean it now. She was just upset and mad and didn't want things to change. And I'm sure it's embarrassing for her, or it was embarrassing for her to tell her pageant friends, for the people that were in the pageants, the modeling, that her 15-year-old daughter is pregnant. That's a rough one to break to your friends. So, I mean, I'm not blaming her because she didn't know any better. You know, like I said, she probably thought she was doing good for me because she was struggling because she kept me, which gave me shame too, on top of the shame I was already feeling for being pregnant myself. But so, um, anyway, I went the next day and they put the dilator in there, and it's really weird. Look it up. I forgot the name of it, but they use like seaweed sticks or something. It's something really weird. I'm not sure. I looked it up once and it was disgusting. But um anyway, so I left out. It was kind of like an IUD almost, I guess, that somebody would have put in, or what it would feel like to have an IUD put in. I've never had one, but my daughter has one, or has had one in the past. My oldest child, who's 30 now, um, and my best friend has one. So they've told me what they feel like. So I think it's kind of similar to that. But anyway, so that weekend I actually had a fashion show I had to do at a nightclub, at a teen club, and I went and did that with this cervical dilator in my cervix, and I'm cramping so bad, and I'm like spotting, and I'm sick. I'm having morning sickness still, throwing up. I made it through the fashion show, and I went home and laid in the bed because I knew that was last night with the baby in my belly. I knew that was it. And there was nothing I could do. I mean, I was like literally trapped. I was like a trapped rat. And I just feel like that, sometimes I know God has a reason for everything and he has a purpose for everything. And it's not that he didn't want me to have an abortion. That was not his choice. That was my parents' choice, and I guess mine, because I didn't tell somebody else, or I didn't make a big enough fuss about it. I wasn't brave enough to stand up for my baby, and that's just the truth. But um, so I went to the doctor's office on that Monday morning. I think it was. I'm pretty sure because it was over the weekend. A couple of these details, like I said, because I don't have anything written down in front of me. I do have all this stuff written down in my journal, so I have the actual dates and stuff, but just right now I'm just going off the top of my head from my memory. But so I'm in a doctor's office where everybody in there's pregnant, full, I mean, from anywhere from where I was to all the way up till due date, and here I am sitting there thinking about how my baby's fixing to be dead, and all these other people in there, are going to check on their babies because they're going to be born alive. And I was just like so devastated sitting out there. Like I wanted to bolt for the door, but I was like, where will I go? Even if I bolt for the door, where will I go? And I don't know. Um, so they call me back, and I go back there, and my mom signed the paperwork for me because I was a minor. But at Planned Parenthood, somehow you don't need a parent signature. That was strange. I don't know why the doctor needed it, but Planned Parenthood did not. I think that's strange. I couldn't sign for myself at the doctor's office, but could at Planned Parenthood. Might be something to look into. Um, but so they called me back to the room and got me prepped and everything, and laid me on that regular table that they check you on just to have exams, like that, with the stirrups. And when they check you when you're pregnant, see if you're dilated or, check every month. Um, and they lay you all the way back where you're flat, pretty much. I did ask them to set me up a little bit. I was feeling kind of sick to my stomach. I was just so nervous. And I was not sedated. I was given 2 Tylenol because ibuprofen or Motrin makes you bleed possibly more, I think. I can't remember, but she said there was a reason for the Tylenol. So, um, I don't think they gave me anything. I'm pretty sure they gave me nothing but Tylenol and maybe an acid, but nothing really for pain that I remember. I mean, they may have given me a pill, maybe like a what do you call those things? Darvocet, maybe I can't remember, but it, nothing, nothing that would go along with what I was having done because I was 12 weeks, and as you know, that is like the end of the first trimester, beginning of the second. Um, and so they cut that machine on after they. And the weird thing is, I'd never had a gynecological exam except for the one time before when I found out I was pregnant. Whenever I came to him the first time, and so I'm laying back on the table, and I'm just like shaking. I cannot keep my legs still, and I'm crying. They turn that machine on, and it is just that suction machine. The sound of that machine, I just cannot tell you what. It's like such a trigger for me. I can't even go to the dentist these days because I'm like, unless I get knocked out completely, because I'm triggered by that suction sound that is on the tool they use to suction the baby out. And so I'm in there alone, like I have nobody back there with me, not my boyfriend, not my mother, nobody back there with me, just me. 15, 14, almost 15. And I'm just thinking, I mean, I almost feel like I wasn't in my body at a time. Like, I don't know, like I was just like looking down or something. It was just so bad. It hurt so bad. It just felt like somebody was ripping my guts out or my uterus out, or I don't even, it was just horrible. And the nurse, she tries to sit there and go, "Oh, honey, you're doing so good. You're doing so good. And I'm just sitting there not wanting this done. And like I'm dying, literally dying. While they take my baby and they're killing it, it's killing me. And I'm dying inside a little bit. At every tug, at every pull, I'm dying. And it didn't stop on the table. So that thing, the cup that goes onto it, you can see all these things come out in blood, and chunks and stuff. And I didn't know all that at the time. Like, I really thought like that's what was in there. Like the way it came out, I thought that's what was in there. So after it was over with, I go home, lay in the bed. They gave me some couple pain pills, I think, for afterwards, but I don't think I even took them. I think I felt like I needed to feel that pain. I deserved it. And then that started a cycle of thinking I deserved a lot of pain. So I was in a cycle of constantly doing stupid stuff, like going out and drinking on the weekend and I broke up with my boyfriend because after that, I was just like, kind of done with you. You have shown me who you are, and I trusted you, and I loved you, and you let me down. So, yeah, bye. Um, I mean, it was within 6 months probably after that. But anyway, so I came home, and it was not an easy recovery. It was very painful, but more than myself, I was just thinking about that baby. And I didn't realize that self-destructive path I was going down, but every year in March, like I would just go into these depressions, like just for the whole month of March. I didn't even know why, but I would just like just just real short tempered, just real sad, gloomy, and not really knew like I didn't really know why or what was going on until years later when I realized that it was the anniversary of the well, it would have been my child's birthday. And I think that that is why every year I go through that. And so, uh, yeah, I just had a lot of years of like partying on the weekend, drinking and going out and doing things I shouldn't have done. Like, I never did like got into the drug scene or anything like that, but we did party and drink, like, you know, um, just partying basically, just, like a lot of high school people do, like even fraternity parties or sorority parties. I mean, a lot of times we went to clubs that you could get in if you were 18 and, we'd get fake IDs and go do that and stuff like that. But all this was just because I was I was hurting inside and I had nobody to talk to about it. My mom refused to talk to me about it. And they told my grandmother anyway, so it's like all of it was for nothing. Like, I really thought I was doing that to save my grandmother's life, like, legitimately, I thought that at first, and then they turn around and told her anyway. So I had a hard time trusting after that, with people, period. I mean, I'm a lot better now. I've been married now, I'm with the same guy 27 years. We've been together 27 years. We've been married going on coming up this month, the end of this month, actually, we'll be married 24 years. We got married in 95. So, yeah. Um, I mean, I have a wonderful husband. I love him very much. Um, but there was a long path of destruction before he came along, and it included getting married to a man that was 5 years older than me, and um, he was not a good person at all. Not at all. In fact, his parents took my parents out to eat and said, "Please do not let your daughter marry our son. He will ruin her life." But I had gotten pregnant again on purpose. I was 17 at this time. And I'd actually gotten some callbacks for some modeling agencies. Now, I know I'm fat now, but I used to, I mean, you can look at my picture on my little tab up there. That was one of my modeling pictures. I mean, I used to be very thin. But, yeah, I was gonna get signed with, like, pretty much any modeling agency I wanted to because I got callbacks from, like, John Casablanca, Wilhelmina, Eileen Ford, um, Haley. I'm trying to think a lot of 'em all are the same. You gotta make sure. I'm trying to think. It was just, like, so many. There was one called Kay Mitchell in Chicago but she was an agent who was in charge of, like, soap operas and things like that. She was like, "I can get you in a soap opera." It's kind of like it was a modeling convention, and then all these agents come there to look at the models, and you have a number in different agencies that are represented, from New York or Atlanta or, um, like, Los Angeles or Chicago or, wherever they're originated from. they all come and they look and they scout. So, like, usually, because like there was like over 500 or 600 people in this thing, and like I won an overall runway, which is like amazing. That uh, I mean, that's over everybody, over 500 people. That is insane. And another thing is that I got not one callback, not even two callbacks. And my modeling agent was like, I mean, if you get one or two callbacks, I mean, if you get one callback, feel blessed, because they don't call very many people back each agency, and there's like maybe 10 agencies that are represented, and like one was for heavier people and one was for really small children. So really there's only like 10 that were there for like almost 600 people. So, the chances are probably not great that you're going to get a call back. But she came running up to our room and knocked on the door and said, "You've got to call back. The first one that came back, you're on there. You're on there. Come down, come down." Because they're posting all the numbers like on the board where you can go up there and see if any agent gave you a call back and what time your appointment is, because you go into a room like at a hotel. They have like business rooms, and you go in that there's a table with all the agents behind the table, and you're like just sitting in a chair in front of them and talking to them like an interview kind of. And so I'm not joking, like I got a call back from every single modeling agency except for one in Paris, because I wasn't quite tall enough. Well, he was interested until he found out I wasn't 6 foot tall. And he said he thought I was a lot taller because I was so thin, and what I had on stage made me look like I was probably about 6'2". I'm 5'9", but when you wear heels, that makes you a tall gal. So, anyway, um, so that summer I agreed to go with, can't remember if it was Elite, John Casablanca. I really can't remember, but I think it was that one. I was going to go that summer and do test shots with like two different agencies that we had decided on and stay in a modeling dorm room over the summer. And this convention was in November. And so we had to go through November, December, January, March, April, May to get to June. Okay. So um, on Valentine's Day, I get pregnant with my oldest child now, who is 30. And she has 4 children of her own. So I have 4 grandchildren. And I'm going to tell a funny story. I know this video is so long, but it's funny because literally, like, my husband and I had tried for 5 years to have a baby. I had to have, because I had my tubes tied whenever I had my 3rd child, because the first husband that I was married to, he cheated all the time, and I was on bed rest, and thank God I was on bed rest in the hospital, but he went to Las Vegas for supposedly work and came back with syphilis. So thank God I was on bed rest is all I could say. Um, and he couldn't touch me then. So, um, yeah. And that was like about the umpteenth time I had caught him cheating. So I was just like, yeah, I think this is it. I'm going to have this baby and I'm going to find a way out. I know that I have 3 kids and I'm 20 years old, but I am getting out of here. And so I started putting advertisements out to clean houses, and I started doing that, stacking the money away. Um, like, I only told him I made half what I was making, and I stuck half back, and just I rolled my money away, and I can save too. But So anyway, I got pregnant with my little girl. Well, big girl now. And we went and this time when I got pregnant, because after I had the abortion, I had a teacher that was pro-life in my civics class, and she had a lady from the right Citizens for Life, and she came in and showed a film about abortion and showed what happens to the babies and what the abortion procedure is and what they do and about when the heartbeat is and all that stuff. But I was like, so sorry about that. I was trying to go to the bath. I was trying to be in the bathroom so I'd be quiet and wouldn't bother anybody. But anyway, I'm almost done. So, like, I have nobody to talk to. I'm not getting any counseling. I'm just kind of numbing my pain with friends, guys, and alcohol on the weekend. And I'm just like feeling so self worth. I mean, I'm just like no self worth, like zero. I just like was thinking, why would y'all want me to even model? I'm just ugly. I'm a monster. I'm a horrible person. Like all these thoughts just go through your head. Like I don't deserve anything. I don't deserve better. I don't like. It's almost like I married him thinking I deserved something. I don't know. It's weird now looking back on it. But he did actually at least take me to Citizens for Life. Because, like I said, I saw that video and man, I got up in the middle of class and ran out. And the teacher came out there in the hall and was like, "What's wrong?" And I had to tell her. And I was glad I told her because she hugged me. And that was the first time really I had anybody to really talk to it about. Um, so thank you, Miss Cleland. I know you're probably not gonna ever see this, but I just want to say thanks. Um, but so yeah, that pregnancy was a bit different because I was older and the guy was behind me and he wanted to get married. And so we're going through Burger King, and my mom goes, "You're pregnant, aren't you?" And I said, "Yeah, I am." And I said, "And I'm going to tell you something else. Before you say another word, I'm not having an abortion. I'm getting married." And I said, "You don't have to sign if you don't want to. I mean, I'll be 18 in a few months. So, I mean, I'll wait to get married until after I'm 18, or you can sign and be a part of it all." So that's what happened. She did. She sold my pageant dresses. She did pay for a wedding. She did sign for me to get married. I got married in March. That's weird. That's when my first baby would have been due in March. That might be another reason I'm sad in March every year. But anyway, so we got married. I was 17, but I was turning 18 in September. So, and the baby was due in November and the end of November. So I was 18 when she was born. But all that to say, I mean, I know I'm jumping around and I'm so sorry. I'm going to do a better one and edit it. But right now, I can't do that on here. I really didn't mean to go so. But I do want to tell the whole story because it is very serious because I did not have a choice. Like, I don't want the blood of the innocent on my hands. You know what I'm saying? And I know that my baby did not die in vain because I have used this testimony since I was 17 or 18. You know, I've told anybody that I could do not have an abortion if they come up pregnant. You know, they're trying to figure out what to do. I would try to talk them out of having the abortion. I was like, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. It messes you up. It messes your head up. It messes with your head. Like, and I didn't even quite understand how much yet until I had my daughter. And as soon as I laid eyes on her, like one of the happiest days of my life, or what would have. I mean, it was, but also at the same time, it was like a twisted like happiness because at the same time I'm looking at my daughter and looking in her eyes, I'm thinking about the baby that didn't make it, you know. And after going through a pregnancy, you know when these things start happening, you know when all these things are forming, you know they have a heartbeat at about 21 weeks. You know that they're sucking their thumb by 3 months, or I mean, 12 weeks, whatever, whenever I had mine. And that doctor lied to me, and I went back to the same doctors, and they delivered my first 3 children. Insane, insane, insane. My mom, she really had a lot of control over me, and I understand that. And um, I really just, I mean, we butted heads when I was older because I just wouldn't go in for a lot of stuff anymore after I got a lot older. And I was just like, no, this stuff is not right, and I'm not gonna, do this. Um, but I will say this, um, this abortion, um, because of the guilt of it, I did go to a Billy Graham crusade when I was 16, and I did actually go give my life to the Lord. Now, I did fall back into my old patterns and all that, but I did mean it when I said it. And then, like, I'd been having dreams and dreams and dreams about the Lord coming back and this, that, and the other, and I didn't know anything about that really, so that was strange. And then, I started going to church and I got saved. So actually, the very thing that the enemy meant to destroy my life actually turned me to the Lord and saved it. And I was very fortunate that even after I had my tubes tied, um, and we were so patient for 5 years, praying, 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 and nothing. But my daughter got pregnant at 16. So that was a real test. Are you really pro life? So my daughter came in and said, Mom, I'm not feeling well. I was in the hospital having my gallbladder out. And she said, Mom, I'm not feeling well. And my mom had took her to the doctor. And she walked in the room and I said, Kirsten, you're pregnant. I was heavily sedated because I had had surgery. That was probably a good thing and probably ordered by God because my blood pressure was going through the roof from the pain. And so thank the Lord. And a friend of mine was there and she heard what just happened. And I was kind of crying as well. I was in shock. So she went down to the nurse's station and said, I think my friend needs something for anxiety because her 16-year-old daughter just told her she was pregnant. And I'm like 34 at the time, so I'm like really young. And I'm going, whoa. But I held her. I said, well, you know what? There's nothing we can do now except for get ready for a baby. But I did say, I said, do you want to give it up for adoption or do you want to keep it? Because here's the thing. I mean, I would have adopted the baby if she did not want to keep it, because I was like, well, maybe the Lord is doing it a different way. I don't know. I don't know. But the cool thing about this whole story, if you stuck around this long, you deserve to hear this ending. Because I did come to the Lord, I did find salvation, and I have been a hardcore pro-life, I guess activist would be the word, but peacefully. Like, because I know what it's like to be the woman and to be scared, or to be the teenager and be scared, and like as Christians, we need to step up and we need to love these people with truth. We need to tell them the consequences and not call them names and hate them and judge them, because that is not what Christ told us to do. Now, we should hate the act of abortion, that's true, because that's a higher spiritual thing. But the people that are actually in the situation, we're supposed to have mercy and grace and forgiveness, just like we were given from the Lord. And we didn't deserve it. So, therefore, we're supposed to do the same thing to others. And I guess I have a little different perspective because I do know the other side of it, and I do know the trauma that goes with it, and I do know that it makes you feel so bad about yourself that nothing anybody tells you that is good you believe. You just feel like trash. And truthfully, it wasn't until I found the love of the Lord that I learned to love myself and learn to forgive my mom, learn to forgive myself, learn to forgive my dad. The daughter came later. Um, and I'm glad me and my mom had a chance to talk about this too before she died, because I had gone to Charleston, South Carolina, and I had actually given a speech about my testimony on the customs steps, and with a group called Silent No More. And when we came back, she was watching my other children because they were still younger. And when I got back, she just was sitting at the table with me, and she was like, "I just want to tell you how proud I am of you for doing that, and how very sorry I am that I made you do that. I carry that every day," she said. And I said, "Mama, I forgive you. I have forgiven you a long time ago." And she's like, "I know, but I can't forgive myself." And I said, "Well, Mom, you've got to, because the Lord's forgiven you and I've forgiven you. So you have to forgive yourself." And I pray that she did, because she died like a year later. No, not a year maybe, but a couple of years later. Um, I don't know. I just wanted to get on here and just be real, be very candid, to tell you that, you know what, some people that are doing this are being forced into it. They don't want to have it done. And doctors are allowing it to happen against the patient's permission or will. Now, yes, that was back in the 80s, but I just have a feeling that um, it's not much different now, except for the fact that I think private doctors' offices have quit doing that. I hope they have. But I know that one has. But it's just like gonna mess you up. I'm just telling you, girls, listen to me. If you're young, it's not worth it. It is not worth it. Like 10 minutes of being with somebody that may or may not love you, may or may not stick by you. Um, don't fall for it. Just don't. Kids are fantastic. I would have probably had 20 if I could. I love kids. And I'm just telling you, I did indeed get pregnant again after my daughter got pregnant. She was like 5 months, 4 months pregnant when I found out I was pregnant. So somebody came to our church and said, "There's somebody in here that's struggling with infertility." And I ran up front, he prayed for me, and I found out a month and a half later I was pregnant. It was very, very strange, but God works in mysterious ways. So my daughter and I were pregnant at the same time. And so I have a 13-year-old grandson and I have a 13-year-old daughter, which she's the last one. The rest of them are all in their 20s, and my oldest is 30. And then I have two in heaven. I have the one that I was forced to have an abortion. And then after the last baby we had that's 13, we got pregnant again like a year after birth. And it was an ectopic pregnancy. And I almost died because I was hemorrhaging and I had to be rushed into surgery and all that. And so yeah, that wasn't a viable pregnancy, and I still wanted one more, and that just wasn't to be, and I had to end up having a hysterectomy. And it could be because of all the things, you know. Oh, I mean, I don't know. It could be the abortion, or it could be having 4 kids. I don't know, but or it just could be running my family. But I just want to share that with people tonight to think about. To think about it from, if you're the parent, okay, think about it from your child's perspective. Like, really sit down and listen to them. And if they don't want an abortion, really honor that. And if y'all don't have the resources, to take care of the baby or whatever, I mean, really, nobody ever is really ever able to afford children. So as long as you can, make ends meet, the Lord will help you. He will if you trust in Him. And also, there are so many people that want to adopt, and it shouldn't be that adoption is $50,000, and or you have to wait forever and ever and still pay $50,000. When people run down to the abortion clinic and they kill, like, every second a baby dies, and it's $400 or $500, that's backwards. Because listen, somebody's trash, they're going to take that baby out of you and throw it in the trash or the incinerator or burn it. So somebody's trash is another person's treasure. Just remember that. And you know what? One day I can promise you, you might not think so right now, but one day you're going to wish that that baby was alive, and that you wish you could find it and see if how its life was, how things were. You know, there's just so many ifs that could have been. So now everybody knows why I'm so pro-life, but I've seen behind the door. I've seen behind the door at Planned Parenthood, how they operate. I've seen the door behind the private doctor's offices, how they operate. And I've also seen behind the doors of a family that doesn't listen to their child, and how it would affect them. I know what it's like behind that door. And then not be allowed to talk about it until 30 something and have kids of my own. And fathers, stick up, stand up, take responsibility. Don't make her feel like she's alone. You need to be there too. It's your responsibility too. And not only that, if she's wanting to have an abortion and it's your child, that's also half of your child. And maybe you could raise it, you know? Just saying. Or at least file a motion or an order to stay the pregnancy, because it is half your baby. And, even if you kept it just to give it up for adoption, at least it would have life. This is a civil rights issue. Yeah. They say the reasons are, well, the baby can't talk, the baby can't respond, or the baby can't tell you in the belly, it can't do anything, it can't walk, it can't talk. But how many elderly are in the nursing homes that can't walk or talk? Does that mean they're going to go by and whack them? Are they going to kill them, murder them because they're not wanted and they can't talk and they aren't walking anymore? Where is this going to end? I mean, here we are already with states like New York and other ones to follow that allow you to kill the baby
to the due date. There's no excuse for that. My last three children were all born between 6 to 4 weeks early, and they ranged in weight from 6 pounds to 6.4 pounds to 7 pounds and 14 ounces early. Every last one of the three last ones were early. Now, my first child, she was a little bit late. She was 8 pounds and 11 ounces. She was a big one, but she was 2 days overdue. But the other ones, they were all born early. They all breathed room air temperature. They were all very healthy. The boys came home with me the day I left the hospital. Now, my daughter, Jaden, she had to stay in the NICU for a couple of days for a couple of weeks because um, when I was in labor, they gave me the wrong antibiotic and they did not know if I had group B strep because they tested it, but the test had not come back accurately yet. So they treated her because she had a little tiny fever and they were just making sure. So, yeah, that was just a procedure of precaution. But I'm going to get off of here because it has been such a long day. And this is an emotional subject for me. And I think I've done pretty good holding myself together tonight because this has been really hard. And I just pray that if you're listening to me and you hear this voice and you're thinking about having an abortion, um, please leave a comment below with just your email or anything, and I will get in touch with you, okay? And talk to you. You don't have to. You don't have to do that. There is help. There is help. There are a lot of crisis pregnancy centers, and they will help you. Okay. All right. And if you have had an abortion, also, I also help counsel with that specific issue, especially. So you can leave a message, also a comment down below, and hit subscribe. And I will see you later. Y'all have a good night. Be blessed.